Attention, attention, all personnel. Incoming podcast. This is MASH Matters.
Well, looky there. We meet again.
You and me meeting again.
Here we are.
At the MASH Matters podcast. Yes, sirrini.
We keep showing up here, and
yes.
Just so happens that we have our microphones in front of us. So while we're here, why not record another award-winning episode of MASH Matters?
What else would I do with this microphone other than sing my Jolson medley? So nobody seems to want to hear it. That's okay.
We'll get to it. I promise. Eventually, one of these episodes. Yeah. But today, it's just you and me. We've had a couple of great interviews recently. Enid Kent and our friend Amanda McBroom. They were wonderful. But now we don't have a guest. It's just you. It's just me. It's just our listeners' comments and questions.
Which one of us should be wonderful? I'm not sure. Which one do you can pick it. You pick it.
I think we just start and let's see who shines.
Oh, hey, I have a question. You're an experienced radio personality.
Okay, sure.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And you've worn headphones.
I'm wearing them now.
You're wearing them now. I am wearing mine now. The question I have is, if your left ear starts to itch really bad, how do you get in to get that? What do you because I'm trying to get through and I can't get it. And if I take it off, I can't get under it to scratch.
Well, I have mastered the one ear at a time headphone trick. Like right now, I just pulled it off of my left ear.
Oh.
But I'm still listening on my right ear.
Oh.
And now my finger is buried deep into my left ear, scratching. And now I'm finished scratching and I replace the headphone on my left ear.
Okay.
And now I'm hearing you once again in stereo.
Okay. All right. Thank you. When you pull that off of your left ear, do you pull it forward to your left eye or backward to your left neck?
I pull it forward.
Well, you pull it forward.
It kind of rests on my cheek on the left side.
Okay. Oh, I'm going to, can I try? Ladies and gentlemen, please take a moment.
This is riveting audio. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay.
Gently pick it up and just place it.
Okay. Placing on my cheek. Okay. On my cheekbone. Okay. Finger in the ear. Oh boy. Oh, that's good. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now my left cheek kind of itches though.
Oh, well, in that case, you replace the headphone over the ear and then you take the same finger. You might want to wipe it off first, but then you can use that same finger to scratch your cheek.
This is starting to make me nervous about fingers and wiping off. I don't know. Maybe we should talk about MASH or something. I'm sorry.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
This is MASH Matters. I'm Ryan. He's Jeff, as always. And we are going to be reading a lot of listener comments and questions today. If we haven't run you off yet with all this talk of scratching ears and disinfecting fingers and all that. But before we get to new comments and questions, we do have a little bit of housekeeping from some of our recent episodes. We heard from our friend Andrew up in Canada. He says, "Hey guys, I just listened to the latest podcast, and while I think you're right about some of the references to Mary, but when Hawkeye says it's a trapper in the pilot, it is likely a throwback to the movie. In the movie, when Trapper is called to Japan to operate on the congressman's son, Trapper, played by Elliot Gould, invites Hawkeye along, saying, 'How often do you get to go to Japan with your golf clubs?' As they were hitting balls off the helipad at the time. Hawkeye, played by Donald Sutherland, then laughs and says, 'Come on, Mary,' and they walk away arm in arm. Just one of those little bits of useless information I have tucked away in my brain." Well, thank you, Andrew, for sharing that useless bit of information tucked away in your brain. And yes, that is another reference to Mary. And that is in reference to us talking about Mary 2 or 3 episodes ago.
Oh, and Andrew, now you know how to scratch your ear through your headphones, in case you need to know any more useless information. And our friend Vincent says, "Jeff and Ryan, in the latest podcast, you talk about character dynamics you enjoyed or wish there was more of. My favorites have always been the ones between Hawkeye and Radar. Radar asking Hawkeye for advice about his pen pal, his concerns about his mother dating, or how awkward he felt when his buddies picked up girls and when they went into town. The conversations were always heartfelt and believable. It just goes to show how truly great the writing was and how beautifully Alan and Gary worked together on screen. It's a few more examples of why MASH is the greatest television series of all time. I love the podcast and look forward to each new episode. You guys do a great job. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Up until this episode, we did a really great job.
That's right. We had such momentum going with these great interviews, and
Didn't we? Yeah, we did.
And now, in the span of the first 4 minutes of this episode, that momentum has come to a crashing halt.
Yep. Wow. Where did it go? Wow.
Yeah. Russell says, "Hey, Jeff and Ryan. My name is Russell, longtime listener, but first-time writer. I love your podcast. I've often save up a few episodes and listen in bulk on the weekends when I'm working around in my office. I'm writing today to help clear up a recent kerfuffle about the pronunciation of a MASH guest star and Academy Award nominee, Mako. I lived and worked in Japan for more than 14 years and can read and write Japanese, so I know of what I speak. Mako's real name was Makoto. We're going to get to that. His full name. Says that's probably a mouthful for people who don't know any Japanese, but his last name is a relatively common family name, and his first name a popular boy's name. In this case, it means believe. He was born in Japan, but became naturalized U.S. citizen. As Clyde Katsatsu mentioned in his interview on your podcast, Mako was considered an Oriental actor, so played Chinese, Korean, and Japanese interchangeably. Now, as to how to pronounce his name, the Japanese language only has 5 vowel sounds. Each sound is its own syllable. A is pronounced like the A in father. E is pronounced like E in eat. U is pronounced like U in June. E is pronounced like E in red, and O is pronounced like the O in note. This is pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the way that English speakers write down Japanese words mixes up things a bit. For example, the double O sound in Japanese is written as U in English, which makes people want to pronounce it as the soft U, as in up or under. Think of Japanese words you may know, like Toyota or sushi, if you get stuck. Or just go around repeating A, I, U, E, O until Sidney Freeman shows up. So to sum up, to pronounce Mako correctly is to pronounce it Mako. His full name was Mako Toiwamiso.
I ordered that last week and they delivered it it was very good.
I'm going to try this again. Mako Toiwamiso. I still don't know if I got that right.
Yeah.
I don't know if the man himself made a big deal of his name's pronunciation. My name is butchered when my Japanese friends use it, so I'm guessing as a working actor in Hollywood, he probably didn't care what you called him. By the way, the correct way to pronounce Mako sharks is also Mako because the word is Polynesian, which is similar to Japanese. I didn't know this until I started looking into this name for you, so I learned something today too. Hope this wasn't too confusing. Keep up the great work. Well, Russell, I read every word and I still don't know what I just read, but thank you for setting us straight and helping us to understand the Japanese language. I do my best to understand the English language, let alone Japanese, but I hope that we correctly pronounced some of the words.
You really did a wonderful job there. I have to hand it to you. I'm certainly glad I didn't read that. I really am. I was nervous, but you got through it.
You owe me.
I owe you. And I think you deserve the Yammer Award for podcast.
Man,
the
thank
golden statue of the Yammer.
The golden Yammer.
The gold.
I ordered that from the Chinese restaurant too. Yeah, a side of them golden Yammers.
Oh, golly. Oh, how much time do we have left?
Too much. Okay. Too much time.
Okay. Well, Larry says, I was happy to hear you guys talk about the Twilight Zone as being one of your favorite shows. I also have been rewatching the original series this year and am now into the 5th and final season. Tonight, I discovered another MASH Twilight Zone connection. Check out Season 5, Episode 12, 90 Years Without Slumber, and you'll recognize a familiar face from the MASH Season 1 episode, Sometimes You Hear the Bullet. Always fun listening to your podcast. to and from my work at WDPR Dayton Public Radio. And we'll be right back after this word from their local ent. So, hey, well, that's cool. All right, Larry, nobody thinks I know this. I'm going to say I can't believe anybody out there would think that I would know who he's talking about, but I do. I do know who he's talking about.
Do you?
I do. It was Don Knotts from the Andy Griffith Show. He did an amazing job. That's where he first got that goofy little character, I think.
I don't remember Don Knotts being on MASH, especially the episode Sometimes You Hear the Bullet.
Oh.
But who am I to question somebody who was actually on the show?
On the show. I was on the show.
Yes.
Yeah, Don Knotts from the Andy Griffith Show. Wonderful appearance on the Twilight Zone.
Also in the episode of the Twilight Zone, 90 Years Without Slumber, that featured James T. Callahan, the actor who played Tommy Gillis on Sometimes You Hear the Bullet, who was the childhood friend of Hawkeye who comes and, spoiler alert, gets shot and dies on the operating table.
Oh, did he and Don Knotts have a scene together? They must have.
I do not recall them being together on screen at any point, but I'm going to have to go back and review the episode.
Yeah.
To see Mr. Knotts' performance.
Everybody, go back, watch that show, and look for Don Knotts.
It's almost like he's not on the episode. That's how quick he appears.
Well, his performance was ephemeral.
Yes, he's like the wind. Okay, let's move on here. Brian says, hey, I have been a decades-long MASH fan and discovered your podcast a little over a year ago and thoroughly enjoy it. Your interview with Enid was outstanding. What a joy she is. I remember seeing her mom on so many shows when I was growing up, as I'm 71 years old now. And I got a big grin when she mentioned Kelly Nakahara. One of my favorite episodes was Hey, Look Me Over. What a performance that was. I was so happy when they began to expand her role on the show. On a personal note, one of the many reasons I love the show is my brother served in Vietnam, and it affected him greatly. He was treated horribly when he returned home, and that had a real impact on me. I know it was a TV show, but it dealt with some very difficult issues that really did make an impact on the viewers. I enjoyed each and every one of the actors that appeared on MASH, but it was always very special when Sidney Freeman was in an episode too. And I have to mention that I was always a fan of Igor, and kept thinking that they should have expanded his role on the show. You haven't heard that before, have you, Jeff?
No, could you say that again? I'm sorry, I was looking over there.
I have to mention I was always a fan of Igor and kept thinking they should have expanded his role on the show.
Oh, that's not, yes, I agree. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Igor was one of those characters that kept you entertained, not only verbally, but also the expressions that he would use as well. And the one-liners would crack me up too. Thank you, Jeff. But before I close this out, Jeff, if you had to choose one actor on MASH that you became close with or that befriended you, who would that have been? Just curious. Thanks for reading this, and I hope that you both continue to do these podcasts for many more years. Thanks for all that you both do to entertain us. Well, thank you for your very kind note, Brian. Jeff, were there any actors or, guest actors, whoever, who walked through the 4077 that you would have loved to have been besties with?
Well, first of all, no one liked me on the show. There was very few people who would actually speak to me. So it was hard, to kind of get close to them.
Right.
When they'd run away and turn their backs. No, I'm just kidding. But first, Brian, thanks for saying those nice things about me. And also Kelly Nakahara, who's a dear friend, and I so miss her.
Yes.
But, let me think. Okay, choose one actor in MASH who you became close with. Well,
aside from Don Knotts.
Aside from my best buddy, Don, recently, Jamie and I have become much closer than we were. And certainly we're now friends, and we talk to each other a lot. So that's fun. Mm-hmm. In terms of while I was there, we were all very close. Everybody was very friendly. And so it would be, it'd be hard to say, oh gosh, one was a bestie buddy than over another, because we were all quite friendly and happy and stuff. And I had friends outside of the show, but on the set, we were all good buddies. So it's kind of hard to say, gee, one of them would have been closer than the other.
I thought you were going to say Rita Wilson.
Well, I tried. I tried many
know.
times. I tried desperately. She did turn her back and run actually away.
Yes.
But actually, okay. Here's a good buddy, Kelly Nakahara, very good friend. We got very close, and we were good buddies, and that was a lot of fun. And Roy Goldman, and Dennis Troy. They weren't the main cast people, but they were such fun guys and very funny, and we had such great time laughing about stuff. And so they were two wonderful people.
All right.
Other than that, nobody talked to me. So, and Peter from Australia, from down under Australia. Peter said, Jeff, can you let us in with some behind-the-scenes tricks? How did the rain scenes get manufactured? Did someone use a watering can or hose? Did some outside scenes get delayed because of rain or other problems? Did Radar have problems with his animals? Never work with kids or animals. Or did Sophie have any problems or incidents? Also, did you get to vote in season 10 as to whether the show would continue or not? Well, let's start there. Yes, I'm still voting for that. And I'm using voting machines, as many as I can get, to try and support my position. But I've used them, and I continue to vote 4 or 5 times a day. No, I didn't get the vote, unfortunately. I was out that day. I was gone.
You miss one day and see what happens.
Whole thing goes down the drain. Behind the scenes tricks. Quite frankly, I don't know any behind the scenes tricks. Nobody played any tricks on me, and had I done it, I would have left.
Well, I don't think he's necessarily talking about pranks. I think he's just talking about technical, like he says, the rain scenes. How did it rain on the set? Because a lot of the rain was not necessarily at the ranch. It was on stage 9, some of these rain scenes.
Yes.
Things like that. Those are the behind the scenes tricks he was talking about.
I see. Thank you very much for that clarification, because I had no idea what he was talking about. I thought it was silly stuff. Yes. Well, that makes sense. And so to answer your question, I have no idea. I have no idea whatsoever. I was never in a scene where it was raining. I don't know what they did. Maybe there was some kind of little trick where there was a trough or something, and they poured water over the thing so it would go down a window and into that trough. But I was never there when that happened. So unfortunately, I can't answer the question. I'm happy to do some research, however, and find out. Now, did anything get delayed because of rain or other problems? I have no idea. Did Radar? Now, this is the one thing I know.
Okay.
Did Radar have problems with his animals? No, not with the animals per se, but Sophie. I've told the story on the podcast before. I'll tell it again. And Ryan, you can take a break if you want. Go have
Sure, I'm going to go get a sandwich.
Yeah, okay. Sophie there were a couple of different horses that were actually Sophie. And one day, Sophie had to be sick. So Sophie, the horse, had to lay down. And they brought this horse out, and it was an old horse. And I owned horses, and I was talking to the trainer there, and he was a very elderly fella, and so was the horse. And I said, hey, is the horse trained to lay down? He said, oh, no, we're going to give it this. And he pulls out a hypodermic needle filled with some solution. And I said, so is that a sedative? Yep, I'm going to give the horse a sedative, and she'll lay down. Okay. So I thought, that's dangerous to do with an old horse. So I said, gee, that doesn't sound good. And I went over, and Burt Metcalf, he was directing that episode, and he was executive producer. And Gary had the scene with the horse. And I said, Gary, they're going to shoot the horse with a sedative and knock it over. And he should really just lay down. What? So we stopped the scene. And Gary said, I'm not going to do the scene if you do that to that horse. And Burt was thinking, okay, can I fire him? I could fire him. I could try and fire him. But he said, well, okay. And they weren't very happy about it. And we sort of shut down the day, really. So later, what they did was they brought a horse in that was trained. The horse said, lay down, horsey. And the horse went clunk, and he laid down. They did the scene. Everything was fine. So Gary and I saved that little horse's life, I think, because that horse would not have gotten up. He was barely standing anyway, or she was barely standing anyway. Anyway, that's the story about Sophie. I hope, Peter, in Australia, that was helpful, because the rest of it was not.
It's the hard-hitting journalism that the people have come to expect from us here on MASH Matters.
I'm exhausted from that story. I don't know about Peter, but
moving on, Michelle, and speaking about our friend Kelly, Michelle says, "Dear Ryan and Jeff, I enjoy your show so much. Do you know how I can order a copy of one of Kelly's paintings if they're even available? I think they are lovely." Thank you, Michelle. And yes, they are lovely. And Kelly, for those of you who don't know, was a very talented artist and had her own art studio, and had paintings and sold her paintings and did a lot of great work. Now, I did a little bit of digging on this, and Jeff, maybe you know something I don't, but here's what I found. Her Facebook page for the Kelly Wallet Studio hasn't had anything on it for 3 or 4 or 5 years. Now, I did find this woweventproductions.com, and if you click on that and then you click on Kelly's art, there's a little tab that says Kelly's art. It gives you the story of Kelly, and it does have pictures of some originals and prints. However, I will tell you, I don't know if these are still available or not. There's an email address, there's a phone number on there you can call to inquire about them, but as to whether or not that phone number or email address still works, I don't know. Again, if you want to go to woweventproductions.com and click on Kelly's art, it will give you the information you need. And then, Michelle, maybe you will be able to procure one of these beautiful prints.
I believe a wonderful woman named Wendy owns and runs Wow Event Productions. I think she did back many years ago. And,
yes.
And she still may. So
that's whose name is on here.
Great. Okay.
I hope that helps, Michelle. Otherwise, I have seen a couple of her prints show up on auction sites. But as far as like an official place, this is the closest thing we have to an official website where you can order some of her artwork.
I think that will be successful, Michelle.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Cool. Very good. And our dear friend Scott says, "Hello, Jeff and Ryan. Here's an episode idea for you and perhaps some arcane knowledge for the MASH nerds. What TV series contemporary with MASH has the greatest number of shared cast and crew? I think I have a pretty good guess, but my research is not exhaustive. My answer details 56 cast and 7 crew that worked on MASH and this other series. Let's hear your guess on the air and then share the data. No peeking at the spreadsheet until you've guessed."
Well, I have to confess, I peeked. Not on purpose. It was an accident. I downloaded the file, then I had some issue opening the file, and then it opened, and then I saw
it. Yeah, my dog ate my homework, Mom. Yeah, right.
So I did see the answer to this question, but I'm curious if you might have a guess. There was a series on around the same time as MASH that had the most overlap with actors, guest actors, also crew, directors, and whatnot. I will say that I didn't watch this show, so it would not have been the show that I thought of first, but the more I think about it, it's obvious that it's this show. Think of the setting, think of, again, the time frame. Do you have any guess as to what that show might be? This is according to Scott's research and the detailed spreadsheet that he put together that references 204 different appearances on MASH and this other series.
Well, thanks, everybody, for listening to MASH Matters, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks. People that worked on the other show, I know certain, in terms of writers and things, Frasier was a big deal. A lot of them produced and wrote for Frasier.
Right. Yes. But this is a contemporary of MASH. So it would have been on the air about at the same time. It did not have the same longevity as MASH. I will say that.
Not My Mother the Car, right?
Surprisingly, not My Mother the Car. It's also not the Twilight Zone. I'll give you some other knots. It's not The Love Boat or Fantasy Island or something like that where they had guest appearances every week. It was a series. And, I guess I can see it looks like maybe this particular series only ran for 3 seasons, which is even more remarkable when you think of the massive overlap.
Yeah.
Would you like another hint?
Please.
Think of the guest actors on MASH may have been of a certain ethnicity that would also carry over to this other popular series at the time.
Aha. All right. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay. Was this the show about the rabbis? Is that the one? About the I know there.
That was Don Knotts, wasn't it?
I think he was. Yeah,
He played the
was in
rabbi.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Uh,
That's. Oh gosh! One more hint, and I'll get it.
the name of the other series shares its name with a very popular activity. That's a
Well,
again. I didn't really watch the show, so
a very popular.
there are some people right now who are yelling at the podcast.
Yeah, I know that.
The ones who are left listening to us, they're yelling right now. They know the answer.
Is this an adult activity or is it a?
Well,
is it a? Could
no, it can be done by many different ages.
Okay. And how many words are there in the title?
2.
2.
Yes.
And how many letters are in each word?
The first word,
yeah.
1 syllable.
Yeah. Okay.
4 letters.
4 letters. Okay. Got it.
Then the second word, 1 syllable, 2 letters.
Whoa, 2 letters? What
Yeah.
show has 2 letters in the title?
Right?
Look, I never watched MASH. Why would I watch that stupid show?
Do you give up? Do you want me to give you the answer?
Okay. I mean, I know what it is, but I'm going to say I'm giving up anyway, just to move on.
That's very good of you. So according to Scott and the spreadsheet, which by the way, I'm going to try to put the spreadsheet where you can download it and see for yourself his extensive research that he has done on this. According to Scott, the TV series that had the greatest number of shared cast and crew was Kung Fu.
Oh, Kung Fu. Okay. Kung Fu.
Now it makes sense, right? Now it makes
does.
sense. Yes.
Now I understand. Yeah.
And we talked about Kung Fu recently when we had Clyde Kusatsu on the series. And he's one of the actors who crossed over. Other actors included Alan Fudge, Andrew Dugan, Barry Cahill. We have Chuck Hicks, Clyde, as we said, Dennis Fimple. Also, Ed Flanders was on both series, James Wainwright, Jerry Fujikawa, John Anderson, Key Luke, Leslie Nielsen.
Wow.
Mako. See how I did it correctly?
Very good.
Pat Hingle and Pat Morita, both Pats. We also had Richard Lee Sung, who, of course, made many appearances on MASH. Rick Hurst, Robert Ito, Sorrel Book, who played Boss Hogg. The list goes on. And then when you look at other overlaps, including directing and all that, Charles Dubin is on that list.
Very good.
So, I mean, it's a neat little spreadsheet, and we appreciate Scott for doing all of this work. Again, he says this may not be the answer, but I think it's going to be hard finding another series that had 56 cast and crew that overlapped.
Yeah, that's an impressive number, 56 cast. That's really amazing. I would never have suspected that.
I would have thought it would have been something like The Love Boat. But no, it was Kung Fu.
And if anybody can tell me the name of that show about the rabbis, I really appreciate it, because I cannot remember what that was.
Yes, that well-known rabbi show. What a hoot. Okay, moving on. Julie says, "Hi, Jeff and Ryan.
Hi.
Do you know if any of the surviving cast members of MASH still do autograph photos? My husband, Scott, had double lung transplant in Boston on June 3rd of this year.
Oh.
If there is a bump in the road to hit, he's blown it up like a landmine. Every night he's been watching MASH for a smile and an escape, so to speak. I have started decorating the walls of his room with cards and letters from all over the country. I posted his hospital address online and let it go. He loves it. I'd like to add a few pictures from his favorite show. He needs a morale boost. Thanks for your time." Well, Julie, I wish I had better news for you, but it's becoming a little more difficult to get autographs from a lot of the MASH cast. When Gary was on the podcast, he announced that he was no longer going to be signing through the mail. Alan doesn't sign through the mail anymore. Now, Mike still does, to my knowledge, and Mike Farrell, and he does have a website, which is mikefarrell.site. If you go there, you could probably contact through the website and at least inquire about something autographed or getting a mailing address so you can send a self-addressed stamped envelope with a photo. Jamie has been good throughout the years as well, but I know he's also getting up there in years and his eyesight isn't as good as it used to be. And so I don't know if he's still doing that as well. Jeff, do you have any more insight on any of this?
No. Okay,
there you go.
No, it is difficult because it's kind of hard to get to everybody, and everybody kind of has their own issues and so forth. So it's not it's not like they don't want to, but
Right.
it's life. It
Yeah.
just kind of life happens. And it's not that they're being mean or stupid or snippy about it. It just kind of happens.
I will tell you, too, that you can buy copies of autographs online, but you have to be very careful. I look at MASH stuff all the time on eBay, and you would be shocked at how much on there is fake. So many fake autographs, not just for MASH, but for just anybody. So you have to be very careful and know exactly what to look for. That's something that I think we've discussed doing some kind of video with our friend Eric, the MASH historian, to talk about that. But if you ever come across anything on eBay and you don't know if it's real or not, do a little bit of research, or maybe shoot us an email and I can look at it and give you my opinion, which is not professional opinion, but I've been collecting autographs for many, many years and I know a thing or two about some of this stuff. So
Great.
There you go, Julie. Hope that helps.
And, it's very difficult to tell whether or not we are actually who we say we are, because who knows?
This might be AI.
We could be AI or BBN or NBC or BBC. Oh, George says, first, I want to say I love your show and think you do a great job combining an insider and outsider view of MASH. Well, how nice of you, George. Thank you. I am the rare person whose favorite character, other than Igor, was Frank. I think he was often misunderstood and that Larry Linville did a fantastic job, which I agree with 100%, especially on the rare occasions we saw his human side. Ryan, suppose you were one of the powers that be during season 5. Linville comes to you and says he will sign a new contract if you do something to change the character. Not to make him another Hawkeye, but something to make him more human. What would you do with the character and his relationships with the other characters? What kind of Frank saves the day ideas would you come up with? What would his attitude be towards Mrs. Penobscot? Would you put him and Margaret back together after the divorce? In my head, she goes back, but he rejects her and says he has moved on. I know this is a weird question, but honestly, want to hear what you think. Keep up the great work. All right, Ryan, What do we do with Frank?
Okay, I have thought about this. And I don't know that I have a really good answer because I really feel Frank was too far gone as a character to be redeemed. And that's not Larry Linville's fault. It's more the fault of the writers. They worked so hard to make Frank what he was. And also because Frank was so intertwined with Hot Lips, with Margaret, for so long that when they decided to change Margaret's trajectory, there really was nothing else for Frank to do. He was not a good surgeon. He was not a likable person. And so if I were an executive and Larry Linville came to me and said, I'll sign the new contract if you do something to change my character, well, we could have done it, but would it have been believable? Would we have sent Frank into combat and he gets wounded and that causes him to view life in a new way and have empathy for people? And I don't know if that would have been believable. Nice Frank doesn't work, in my opinion. This is my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody else has a different opinion on this, but I just don't know there was a redemption story for Frank Burns. Really, the best thing that they could have done for the character is exactly what they did. Send him home and replace him with somebody who was not Frank and could show more of a human side, was less of a cartoon. Again, not Larry Linville's fault. He did a tremendous job with what he was given, but I just don't know if he could have gone any further.
Boy, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. It is sad that he turned into a cartoon.
Yeah.
They just kept writing it and it kept getting more and more cartoonish and cartoonish. If there was any chance for him to be saved at all, something really terrible would have had to have happened to him, or we would have had to have learned some horrible tragedy in his life that we would certainly all of a sudden feel sympathy or empathy for him, for that man.
Yeah.
But then it would have been pretty much the Frank show, I think.
Yeah. And then you don't have a protagonist. If everybody has empathy, that's kind of boring to watch. You have to have some of that conflict within the camp.
Yep.
Yeah, I just don't I don't know. I feel bad for Larry Linville that he was kind of painted into that corner.
Yeah.
But man, I agree that he was a fantastic actor and did a tremendous job with what he was given, especially as the series rolled on. It became less of Margaret and Frank and more of them separate. He really just didn't have a lot to work with.
One of the funnest parts of watching people on MASH was when Loretta and Larry would be in her tent and they would have all these little physical things they had to do. He was in the closet or he had, clothes on top of his head or he was trying to, hide under the bed or something. That space was so small. Imagine doing that in your closet. That's kind of how big that set was.
Yeah.
And so the two of them did that. It was just a beautiful ballet, not only physically, but emotionally and with all the dialogue that they had to do. It was amazing.
And they were wonderful together. Together, they were a unit.
Mm-hmm.
But then that unit split up and I said protagonist earlier, I meant antagonist.
Antagonist, yeah.
Together, they were the antagonist of the show. And then they split up and it was just really him. She still was to a point, but for the most part, he shifted into the main antagonist role. There was nowhere for him to go there.
As I watch it, and hearing Loretta's journey and her arc and how she felt, when you watch the show, it is almost impossible to believe that this incredibly gifted, experienced nurse would tolerate what she did from
Yes.
him. And it became stupider and stupider, and you had lost respect for her that she would actually be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so finally, obviously, Loretta said, ain't going to do that anymore.
No.
Got to make this different.
Yeah. And they did. And ultimately, I think it was for the better.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't have done 11 seasons with Frank and Margaret being the way they were in season 1. There's just no way that would have worked either.
Yeah.
Well, I know I didn't give you a real answer as to what I would have done, but I just don't think that anything could have been done.
Oh, golly.
Hey, we got a quick note from Eric who said, hey, I just binged every episode at work. I drive a forklift. It took 13 working days to finish.
Uh-oh. Yikes.
I don't think that you should be operating heavy equipment.
No.
While listening to this podcast, okay? 13 working days with us in your ears. My goodness. I hope you've recovered from that. That's all I can say, Eric.
Doesn't that come up when you turn on the podcast? Please do not drive machinery or do something that should be on there.
Yes, we probably do need to add a warning at
Yeah.
the beginning of especially this episode. All right, let's take a break and say hello to some of our Patreon supporters.
All right. Private Lane.
Yes, and Private Benjamin Sperber.
And Private Mary Beth Rockwell.
Corporal Pat McCahey.
And Corporal Daniel Myers.
Captain Tammy Davenport.
Captain David Mann.
And a big shout out to all of our majors, Brian, Rich, Megan, Aaron, and Karenjeet. Thank you for your support. You too can support MASH Matters for as little as $3 a month. Just think, your money is helping to fund this. Yes, I know. People actually pay for this. Can you believe it?
Okay.
But again, you can do that. mashmatters.com/support.
Yes.
All right, moving on. Phil says, hi, Jeff and Ryan. I was 11 years old when MASH premiered. I watched the show faithfully every week with my parents. It continues to be my all-time favorite show. My dad served in Korea as well as World War II, so I grew up hearing Army stories. I only discovered your podcast a few months ago, and so I'm behind and working hard to catch up. Well, you see, what you should do is work on a forklift and just binge the episode. That's how you get through it all. You have discussed the differing opinions on the final episode, Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen. I fall into the disappointed in the episode group and would like to explain why. I will never forget when my older brother returned from his tour of duty in Vietnam. We were so excited to have him coming home. My mom wrote and asked him what he wanted when he got home. His answer was a dinner of pork chops with potatoes and gravy along with homemade rolls. He then asked for a bed with clean sheets that had been hung outside on the clothesline to dry. It was only after he had been home 3 days that he discovered that Mom was washing his sheets every day and drying them on the line so he could have fresh sheets every night. He told her, Mom, it's so nice to have fresh sheets, but you don't have to do this every day. Having the memories of my brother coming home from war and returning to our family in mind, I always knew how I wanted MASH to wrap up when the series came to an end. I wanted them to devote an entire season to show the cast returning home to their families. Each cast member could have a couple of episodes devoted to their return. I always imagined Hawkeye returning home to his father and us getting to see his dad as well as Crabapple Cove. I wanted to see BJ return to Peg and Aaron. I wanted to see Father Mulcahy come home and us getting to meet his sister, the sister. I would have loved to have Winchester return to Boston and have his father give him a big hug and say, "I am proud of you for serving, son. I love you." We could see their relationship deepen as his father had come to appreciate his son more. Imagine seeing Klinger return to Toledo, have a hot dog at Tony Paco's, and take in a Mud Hens game. Colonel Potter returning home to Mildred. Anyway, you get the idea. With the vision I had for wrapping up the series in a way that would have given the cast as well as the fans closure, I always found the final episode a disappointment. I know the idea I had wasn't really feasible. It would have been a giant undertaking. I think it would have been pretty cool, though. That's my opinion for what it's worth. Thank you for the podcast. You guys are the greatest. Bye-bye and bye bonds. All right. Well, that's really interesting, Phil. First of all, thank you to your brother for serving. It's really interesting how his homecoming impacted you in such a way that you wanted to see some of these characters in their homecoming, which is a very sweet thought. I think you're correct in that it would not have been feasible to do that. Mm-hmm. And part of me also doesn't want to see what happens when they return home. I want to imagine for myself what those characters were doing and how they reacclimated to civilian life. While your scenarios are very interesting, they might be different from scenarios I have in my mind. Mm-hmm. And so these characters going home, I think that we all get to imagine our own little scenarios rather than the writers doing it for us. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. I've said before that I was not a huge fan of the last show.
Right.
But I guess in thinking about it, and I continue to think about it over time, I think probably when you watch a show like MASH and you fall in love with everybody and all the characters, how do you top that? How do you end that? Mm-hmm. What could possibly be an ending that you'd be okay with? It's the end of it. That's the last episode ever. And so what in God's name could you really do to overtake years worth of watching episodes of the show? So it'd be impossible to really come up to that.
Yeah.
And satisfy everybody on the last show.
Plus, you guys, the cast, you had such a magical chemistry together. Mm-hmm. And when you separate them and send them home, you lose that chemistry.
Yeah.
And really, we did get some of this with After MASH because Potter and Mulcahy and Klinger were all back in the States working together. And those three, while they did an admirable job, could not capture that same magic that the MASH cast brought.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we did get a glimpse of what that would be like to see them return home and go back into society and the after effects of the war. And it wasn't well received by the American public. Mm-hmm. Not a bad idea, though. Not a bad idea. It's just everybody has their own opinion of what happened after the war.
Yeah. And Phil, don't ever write us again, okay? Thanks very much.
Oh, Phil. Sorry. So sorry, Phil.
You had to listen to MASH Matters, Phil. Sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Who else's day can we ruin?
All right. Well, let's ruin Daniel's day.
Okay.
All right, Daniel. Are you ready? And this is a two-parter.
There will be an intermission in the middle of this message.
That will be. Very well done, but it's a two-parter. All right. Daniel says, hi, Jeff. Hi, Ryan. When, back in 2018, I learned that there was a new podcast about my favorite TV show, I was very hesitant to start the first episode, although everything sounded really interesting and the topic itself was right up my alley. As so many of your listeners and you yourself, Ryan, have already pointed out, MASH is something that is extremely personal to us on so many levels. The show is so much more than just an entertainment. It is a sanctuary, a shelter, a refuge, a place to go in dark times. If you need advice or guidance, it is there for you. MASH is an ideal family combined with a group of perfect friends. The people of the 407.7s and their stories have had a lasting and most certainly positive influence on my life. And that is why the question that I had in my head when I found your podcast was, do I really want to share this ideal world that nobody can take away from me with other people? You, Ryan. Ryan, are you there?
Yeah, still here.
Okay. You, Ryan, must have had similar thoughts. What if by creating or listening to the podcast, we learned that in his off hours, Alan Alda was the ringleader of a Mexican drug cartel? Did you spill the beans on that?
Mr. Alda, I did not say a word.
Okay. Or that in real life, Private Igor was a crazy lunatic. Well, that's ridiculous. Or what if the podcast made us aware of the fact that there were people out there who hated MASH for valid reasons? Would this not completely shatter our image of the show and therefore take away a piece of our own personal history? Do I want fiction and reality to mix? Do I want to bring the missionary to the jungle tribe? Is listening to an interview with Jamie Farr not like meeting your math teacher at the grocery store? A bit awkward because the setting feels wrong? I don't even like that within the cosmos of the show itself. You will get what I'm trying to say here if you, like me, don't like the bug out scene in the last episode because it takes you away from that safe haven feeling as opposed to scenes like the huddling up in the swamp and in the episode Crisis. Here is another example. I love Star Trek and Alf, but I skipped the episodes that star David Ogden Stiers. So what made me click the MASH Matters play button anyway?
Okay, stop. We're going to take a brief intermission.
Yeah.
Go out to the lobby, get yourself a refreshment, use the restroom, and we'll be back for part 2 of our message from Daniel.
And here's some music. Hey, what about I could do my Jolson here right now?
You know, I think we're running too long on time. Let's just get back to it. Here's Act 2 of Daniel's message.
All right.
Curtain up, action.
A wise man once said, "Never have your dog stuffed." What he meant was that warming up the past is never a good idea. It will never be as good as it was back then. And yet, as personal as it is to me, I know that MASH is so good that it deserves warming up. Jeff, you, as an accomplished chef, will know that some dishes taste even better when you heat them up the next day, and MASH is a dish whose recipe must never be forgotten. Time is a cruel concept, and that's why many of the MASH actors have already gone. So it's only natural that we fans do everything in our power to preserve the magic of the show for future generations. Some wear 407 7th shirts that have creamed weenie stains on them. Some name their child BJ. Some have a Hawkeye tattoo. And my finger once hovered over the confirm bid button on eBay for 10 hours when Radar's original teddy bear was an offer. If my salary as a high school teacher had not been so lousy, I would have won the auction and I would have donated the teddy bear to a museum as the symbol for everything that MASH stands for, and as a reminder in a world that sees an increasing number of ferret faces in power, the MASH spirit lives more than it ever has. So if I can't get the bear, I will do my part to keep MASH on everybody's radar by clicking that MASH Matters play button. You, Jeff and Ryan, took a risk when you created this podcast. And when we created this particular episode, we really took a risk.
We really did.
But you have succeeded. After all the episodes, my MASH universe is still unharmed. And what's more, you have created a new little refuge for me that has become one of my favorite places to go to after a stressful day. Keep up the brilliant work. I love to share this ideal world with you, and I thank you for sharing it with me and all the other fans out there. If you've been waiting for a question, here it is. Can you do an episode that is called MASH Around the World? I would love to hear about the impact the show had on fans in other countries and to what extent MASH shaped their image of the USA. What is it like for you, Jeff, to hear you speak in another voice language? And do you think that Kim Jong-un listens to your podcast? I'm sure. He's going to. Didn't he write us an email? I'm sure.
Yeah, he's going to be our interview on the next episode.
Oh yeah, Kim Jong-un. And next week on Mash Matters, Kim Jong-un. Thanks again for your great work. Truly the best care anywhere. Abyssinia. Well, that is great. Wow, Daniel, thank you so much.
Yes, I'm glad that you found Mash Matters, and I'm glad that you finally clicked the play button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that you never will click again after this episode. But
That's true.
It's wonderful knowing you.
That was very nice. Very nice. A nice way to wrap up this really long episode of Mash Matters. Thank you for listening. If you stuck with us through to the end, you are a real trooper. You are a champion. You are our favorite type of people. The finest kind you are.
Yeah.
If you would like to send us your messages, you can do that. mashmatterspodcast@gmail.com. You can also call and leave a voicemail under 3 minutes in length. 513-436-4077. And don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts.
And if you're an executive with Skechers shoes, please do not forget to send us a few boxes of those Skechers shoes, because obviously we tell everybody how wonderful the Skechers shoes are, and they're my favorite shoes. And I'm sure they'll be your favorite shoes too, Ryan, when they send us a couple of 3 or 4 boxes.
I'm a size 10.
I'm an 11.
All right. Well, until next time, here's looking up your old address.